Hello everyone, it's your girl Lala and I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is going to be a recap on Ready to Love Season 6, Episode 3. So this episode started with the ladies at the wine bar with Tommy. So they have their regular conversations with him. That's what's taking place at the wine bar. In this conversation, Tommy drops the bomb that once again, two other singles are being dropped into the mix. So now I'm gathering this is just gonna continue to happen, I guess, the entire season, I guess, with like these cast members, two singles just being dropped on every week, I'm assuming, because last week it happened this week. So I don't know how many more times we're gonna have this. I don't I don't really like this idea. I really don't. I know it's a way to kind of shake things up and to kind of like put some variation into it, but it's already like a large number of people already that are dating people at the same time, right? So that already has its, issues and complexity with this kind of like speed dating that's already occurring. And so to keep throwing these new people in the mix, it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about it. But anyway, so we have Zakia goes on to the first blind date. So she's on the first blind date and she goes on that date with Eric, who Eric is the one who was now dumped into the mix as the little like blind date dump or whatever you want to call it. And they seem to have a pretty good date. They both seem to have a lot in common. They both were in the same type of industry, although Eric left the industry and became a chef. But they kind of seem to have like a lot in common. The conversation flowed well. So we'll see how that goes and where that goes later on. And so then next we have Clifton, who goes on a date with AP. So AP was the woman that was dumped into the mix. Clifton and AP's date seemed to have went, okay. Um, Clifton did make mention that, AP picked this vegan place, and Clifton's like, vegan? Really? Like, look at me. Like, I eat, which Clifton looks like he does eat. I love me some Clifton, but we'll go on. Clifton and AP had a date. It seems to have went okay up until, oh, let me back up. So initially, when AP sees Clifton, she's like, "Wow, he's like beautiful." She starts talking about his beard, and she's like, "What does he like? Eat juices and berries and all of this other stuff, right?" So I'm like, "Well, hold up, watch out, Joy. She looked like she about to try to come for your man." But then as the day progresses, AP is like, "Well, you kind of like remind me of my brother." What? Like what? Then she goes into about his like face shape or whatever, like his face shape or whatever is what reminds her of like her brother or something. And I'm just like, I don't know. I found it to be so odd because I'm like, you didn't you see that when you first saw him and you was like how beautiful he was? At that moment, didn't he like they register? Or I don't know, maybe it was more to it in regards to like, maybe she saw him initially and, like thought like, oh, it kind of looks like my brother. But I don't know, maybe her brother and him have similar mannerisms or ways about them that just like kind of just kept rubbing her the wrong way, like she felt like she was with her brother. I have no idea. It was weird. That one was weird. But anywho, so now we move on to the painting event. And so now at this painting event, everyone's, doing their painting and everything. And Cornelius, he decides to paint his dead cat, whose name was Pimp. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, Cornelius just gives me just a strange vibe. I don't know. Like, he's just, it's something about him. Him and that Paul, I can't take either one of them. I'm sorry. I just can't. But anyway, so Zakia decides to pull Cornelius over for a conversation because, she states that they haven't been able to have a conversation yet. So she pulls him over. They're having a conversation. And so in the conversation, they mention, they ask about children. Neither one of them have children. Neither one of them have ever been married. So initially in a conversation, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're vibing. Maybe this is gonna go somewhere. And then we get to Cornelius with like basically it seems like, okay, I'm like willing to have children with women, but I don't want to get married. And I'm just like, okay, I mean, that was interesting. To each their own. If you don't, you don't. But I mean, it does seem like Dakia is looking for that. Like, she seems to be unsure still of on children, but it definitely does seem like she's looking for marriage. And I'm also wondering because, like, okay, I know the show is ready to love, not ready to be married. So, I don't think the requirement is that people, have to want to be married. But I don't know. I just feel like when you're on this type of dating show, like I don't know. For some reason, I feel like that would be your end goal, or I wonder if there's any discussion in the intake process or whatever, like with people who don't want to get married, or if that's even a part of it. But I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I guess it's more focused on the dating part, not the long term aspect of it. So, whatever. So now we move on to Paul and Sabrina's date. Actually, this was the first time that I actually thought that Paul was like being a bit more normal. His conversation was more, was like a bit more normal. His comments and things like that. This was, like I said, the first time I actually didn't like have like a WTF look on my face with Paul. So until the end of the date or conversation though, because things were going good. We found out Paul was basically doing Instacart before Instacart even existed at like 10 years old because he was a little entrepreneur. And we talked about how he was like doing grocery shopping, as a little business and things like that. So you go ahead, Paul, with your entrepreneurship at 10 years old. And so as the day progressed, they continued to talk and things like that. But of course, Paul, in Paul fashion, he asked Sabrina something about, so like, do you see me as, someone who could make you happy or be with or something? And I'm just like, Paul, slow down, pump your brakes. It has been one date. Who would be able to answer that? But listen, he got his answer and more because Sabrina shut it all the way down. Sabrina is looking like, listen, I ain't about to sit here and play no games with you. I'm not going to lead you on. Like, basically, without saying it, Sabrina's like, nah, you ain't the one. Like, no, I don't see anything. Like, no, moving along, no. So, that was actually kind of funny because it was like, Paul, you did it to yourself, but Paul, just being Paul, he just can't seem to help himself no matter what. So then we move on to the bowling date, which was AP, Laverne, Paul, Joy, and Demetrius. So they all go bowling, and once again, it's funny how they always put them, in these odd numbers of groupings or whatever. It's like they always are trying to see who's going to be the odd man out, which is interesting. But it is a dating show. So I was kind of, you know, shocked that Joy made the comment about Paul that she made. Like, she said something about like she liked his like raw, uncut, like sense of humor, like way about him. And I was just so surprised because I'm like, who likes that? Like who likes Paul? But hey, to each their own, like we all have our differences of, what it is we like and we don't. It just goes to show you how, 80% of the people can be like disgusted by somebody, but you got that 20% that's like, what? I love him. I like him. So whatever. And I guess that's Paul. But anyway, so, she says that about Paul. And so then also, Laverne is it's a scene where Laverne is, he's about to bowl. So before that, him and Joy are having like a little playful, little flirty time, and he tells Joy to like squeeze his butt for like good luck or something, and I'm just like, Laverne, I'm gonna need you to stop it. Like, stop, Laverne. Okay. Um, Laverne was one of my favorites. I still do like him and Clifton. I do. But Laverne does give me all of like the red flags of just a lot of games and a lot of just, player and things like that. I do get that vibe from Laverne. And you know, certain parts of him seems a bit immature as well. Just like he made the comment that, basically like him and Joy should be together, but yeah, so he tells like Joy because neither one of them looks their age and they look good together. They can have like pretty babies. And I'm just like, oh, come on, Laverne. Like, we're grown on a dating show. Like, stop. Come on. And then it's like, it seemed like Laverne already has a bunch of kids because, well, not a bunch of kids, but he has uh, two, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was two children, and I think they might be adults already. I'm not sure if he said that or whatever. But anyway, because Joy questions like, okay, like you want more, like you're even looking for more, whatever. So, that scene was like a little, that was like, okay, come on now, Laverne, with that whole part. And so then we get on to the next date where we have Sabrina, Wally, Demetrius, Corey, and AP that go on a date. And so they're like taking a little like tour, bus ride thing, whatever. And it's like interesting because here we go with Demetrius and him just kind of isolating himself or not really showing up. And the others are talking. Wiley and AP are talking, and they're having a conversation. Which basically, once AP finds out his age, she's kind of like, "Listen, I'm 42, he's 32. Like, it ain't gonna work for me." And it's like, poor Wiley. Every time I turn around, he is getting shut down, because of his age. And it's like, okay, production, when you guys did this, did you guys ask these women if they were willing or if they were down for dating the younger guys? Because it seems like everybody's shooting Wally down for his age. So who said yes to dating this younger guy? Because all of the women just about seem to be either late 30s or into their 40s already. So, I mean, I would think that would be a question, especially if we have someone that's 32, okay? But anyway, so once again, I just feel like Demetrius just doesn't seem to be present in his process. Like he doesn't seem to be here. And interestingly, Sabrina is Demetrius is at her top. I don't know how because I don't see Demetrius doing anything. I don't see him putting forth any effort. I don't see him doing anything. But he seems to be at Ace's top. So I guess we'll see where that goes. But Ace was kind of disappointed because she's like, you know, I would love to see him kind of like join in or whatever. And she did make the comment like, well, while I do, understand that, that he's trying to be respectful, because we're talking and things like that. But it's like, this is a part of the show. Like, this is how it goes. How many times have we seen people come in and basically grab up someone who was having a conversation? Now, you don't have to do it in that way, but you can easily come in and join the conversation or come in and ask, if someone can go off with you for a quick second. Like, I think that, that's crucial in this process. And I don't see Demetrius showing up at all. So, I also don't see Tori showing up that much in the process either. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said in previous videos, Demetrius and Tori are two that seems to be getting very lost on this season and in this process to me. But we'll see how things progress and how it goes. So now we get on to Joy and Clifton date. Of course, I smile because I really, really, really do love Joy and Clifton's interaction and love them together. So the date starts off, and it's starting out cute. Joy's feeding Clifton, and bam, next thing you know, Come to find out, like Clifton's allergic to coconut, and it must have coconut in it. So he's at the table. He looks like he starts sweating. It looks like, I don't know. I thought he was about to have to like call the ambulance or leave or whatever. But let me tell you something. Cliff said, I'm gonna risk it all because I'm sitting here and I'm getting through this date. Okay, like Clifton was getting through that date. He didn't care. He didn't care about his throat closing. He was getting through that date. But so the date does turn around. Clifton does make it. His throat does not close. And he does make it through the date, and they have such a great date. They share a very intimate moment with a conversation about their dad. His dad passed, her dad passed, whatever, and they get a little deep. And I just really I love the vibe that they have. It seems to be so organically developing, and it's just so natural. And you can just kind of like see that they are really like vibing together. And I really, really, really do enjoy that. So far, that's the only connection like that I actually can kind of see so far. I don't really see anyone else. And it's interesting because I don't know, I feel like in past episodes I've kind of like uh I've seen people kind of match up, like where you kind of like, okay, yeah, these two, and even if it does go south throughout the season somewhere, it was usually you saw some matches. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me or what, but it's like this season, I don't really see any matches so far besides like Joy and Clifton. That's like all I really see. Laverne's all over the place. He's all over the place. I know there's a comment or whatever about um, Ace says in one of the, little meetings with Tommy and the ladies about like Laverne, is calling her and, he calls her all the time and everything. But to me, it doesn't seem like now, which was interesting because I guess that explains why the previous week, why Laverne went so hard for Ace. Because I was like, well, wait a second. But it was like in that same moment, he had just made Carmen his wife. He wanted to settle down with Carmen. Then in the deliberations, he just went so hard for Ace. And then this week, here he is with, just flirtiness and everything with Joy. So it's kind of like he's all over the place. I can't get a feel of, who he really wants to pursue. So once again, it leads me to basically Clifton and Joy to me are the only ones that have so far, like I feel like have made a connection that is like, that is sticking. So I'm hoping that they are, together in the end, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So now when we're at the wine bar, um, Ace is, this is where she says that, her and Laverne have been talking or whatever, like I mentioned earlier. And, everyone's going around the room saying like who their tops is and things like that. And so Carmen said that Clifton was in her top. And Joy gave Carmen a look like, what? Like, did y'all see that? Because, listen, Joy definitely gave Carmen a look like, he a who top? Like, because that's my man. So I was like cracking up. And then what I couldn't believe was that Precious was like Paul was like in her top. And then she even proceeded to say that she hasn't experienced or felt anything like it with her and Paul had. And I'm like, this ain't Paul, P.O. that's on this season show? I can't see it, but hey, to each their own, once again. But then I was starting to wonder, I'm like, Precious is not really connected with anybody, I don't believe. So, I'm like, is this just like, trying to, you know, uh, create something, some connection or whatever, because hey, we know every week, people on the chopping block. So I don't know. I for some reason I just cannot buy into the sincerity of like Precious and Paul. But I mean, listen, Precious was going hard for Paul. Okay, I mean, she was going hard for Paul, which I'm wondering if that's what saved Paul because the the two that ended up in the bottom were Cornelius and Paul, which I was very surprised that Wiley did end up in the bottom. I just knew that Wiley and Cornelius would end up in the bottom. I didn't think Paul would end up in the bottom after how hard, Precious went for him. So I kind of figured that Paul wouldn't be in the bottom, but I was very shocked when it was Paul and Cornelius. When it was Paul was a part of it, not Cornelius at all. Like I was like, okay, all right, yeah, I knew this was coming because I I just can't with Cornelius. Like every Cornelius just seems to rub me the wrong way every time. It's a weird, it's like he's a Paul, but in a different way. It's just like something about Cornelius, and I'm just like, I just, yeah, yeah. It's a no. It's a no for me with Cornelius. It's a hard no for me with him. So they sent Joy and Precious to basically do the dirty work to send somebody home. And so Joy had the conversation with Paul while Joy had the conversation with Cornelius. So Cornelius was a little excited in the beginning because he was like, I haven't gotten a date with Joy, and ooh, I like, I guess he thought that it was an actual opportunity where he was having an opportunity to date with Joy. But little did he know, there was zero opportunity there, and it was for Joy to tell you that you ain't ready to love. Now in Precious and Paul's date, Precious, told him how the ladies felt in regards to, you know, um, but she said that, he wasn't opening up enough and things like that. But I don't think that was really what the ladies felt. That he wasn't opening up enough. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just Paul. Like they're just not feeling you, Paul. Like they're not feeling your personality. They're not feeling this weird, this weird way about you. And he was saying like, well, I'm a Gemini and blah blah blah. And I'm just like, that has nothing to do with being weird. Like that has nothing to do with like, just your weirdness at all. So, I don't know if she led him in the right direction for his improvements going forward because um, I think it's more than an opening up part. If that was even an issue, it was like just his weirdness basically. But so back to Cornelius and the conversation and him getting sent home and Joy is telling him like, well, basically kind of like all the girls is kind of like seeing you as a friend or whatever. So, his closing little rebuttal was something like, wow, I done got friend zoned by 7 women at the same time. And I was like, that was hilarious to me because like that says a lot, like 7 women have like basically said like they see you as nothing more than a friend. But like I said earlier, like Cornelius is weird to me as well. Like he's another Paul to me, but in a different way. I can't quite put my finger on it with him, but it's like I don't know, it's something weird. Like he's just giving off something. And even his conversations with certain things, like and then when he painted, the dead cat name was Temp, and with the conversation about the other time about like the sexual innuendo conversation, it was just he just rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm glad he's gone. I'm sorry. Like I'm glad he's gone. I don't want to see him on any more dates. I don't enjoy when he's on any more dates. And honestly, I'm ready for Paul to go too. Like I'm ready for Paul to go. But anyway, so I wonder who will be going home next. I mean, I'm thinking that Demetrius might be coming up in the chopping block because he doesn't seem to be connecting. And, right now, I think he only has maybe Ace that's probably going to like kind of like ride out for him, maybe. But, after this week, if she kind of connects with someone else, who knows? But we are getting more people dropped into the mix again next week. So we're getting 2 more singles dropped into the mix. So it definitely does spice it up a bit. It definitely will be harder to kind of tell who's going to go home and where things are going to go. So I guess in that aspect, it kind of amps up the show a little bit. It amps up the repetition and the, constantly knowing like, oh, or predicting or whatever with the people that are being, thrown in the mix, the blind dates, or whatever. So in that aspect, I kind of get it. I see it. But still, I'm also kind of like, well, how are we getting to see how relationships, how these like interactions are like, how they're transpiring when it's constantly new people in the mix. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, it's for entertainment. It's entertaining when the new people get dropped in just to see how they shake up things and um, especially like I want to see if since like I said since so far I only really see Joy and Clifton as a connection. I am very, very curious to see if anyone comes in and shakes up their connection. Because so far, no one who's there is not even not rattling them feathers at all. But let's see when we continue to have the drop in if anyone else does. But guys, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you think will go home, who won't, who's gonna maybe blast to the end. What love connections you guys see. And if you guys see any more than like, I just see Joy and Clifton. You guys see more than that? Are you guys seeing someone? Also, am I going too hard on Paul? Like, cause Paul gets on my nerves. So let me know if you guys think that I'm going hard on Paul or what. So until next time, toodles.